I spent the day with Jonathan Morrison, a YouTuber with millions of views and a music producer with the most incredible Atmos music studio. His spatial music mixes are racking up plays on Apple Music, and today I asked him my top questions on mixing for spatial audio, and he shares some tips on how you can get started. I want to cry. I am honest to God choked up. We're here with Jonathan Morrison. He told us about an immersive audio experience that's happening here, and you're here with, looks like Genelec and Apogee, right?
It just kind of worked out that way. They were kind of two of my favorite brands parallel, and then to kind of get them together has been fun. So yeah, when I first got into Atmos, I was already, on the Apogee train from the Symphony desktop, and many years back going like that actually was the first nice interface I ever bought, the Ensemble. So when I used to work at a Sam Ash, the first time I ever saved up my money and bought a nice interface, it was that Ensemble. So there's a cool like lineage with Apogee, and then Genelec, I think they just make the best speakers in the world. So here we are for the V2 of Atmos, because you got to check out V1.
You guys have no idea what that experience was like. So Darthi and I were actually in Jonathan's studio where he'd first set up. I think that was your first full Atmos setup, right?
Yeah.
And you had mixed a few songs.
Yeah.
And I'll show a few clips of our reactions of that day, but I want Darthi to just tell us a little bit about her reaction.
It was the most emotionally beautiful experience I've ever had with music and sound, period. I have never heard sound like that move and travel and bounce and dance around my body like I did that day.
Shout out to Adam Turley.
Shout out to Adam. Oh, Adam. Dude.
We heard some of your mixes too. Well, actually you mixed all of that stuff, right?
I think so. I know you heard a couple things, but there's a lot more stuff now.
The startup song is what got me.
You want to cry, don't you?
I want to cry.
I want to cry.
And I'll tell you why. And I am honest to God choked up. I'm a pianist, and I was immersed in my instrument. That was crazy. I'm serious. I'm not even. She'll tell you I don't cry for anything.
Cry. He's only cried twice.
That was a great song. I listened to the song before. I listened to it with the Apple headphones, but I've never been so immersed in a piano. Like, that was crazy.
That's one of my favorites.
Yes. You have your songs in spatial audio on Apple Music right now. What kind of comments do you get from people who are hearing spatial audio in your mixes for the first time?
One of the important things to me is to make sure they translate to AirPods and, computers, and we'll cross-check them on Sonos. So I think, as fortunate as I am that we get to, play in this make-believe room, it's got to be, accessible. And I think that's why I was initially so on board, is that, it's part of Apple Music. Kids are going to grow up with it. And so honestly, as fun as this is, just getting people with saying it sounded amazing on AirPods, or like I could hear a difference, like that's my favorite part.
So tell me, what should producers be listening to when they're listening to immersive mixes?
I'll put a playlist of the good ones. I think all the talk is about mixing in Atmos, which I think is true, right? But I think what excites me most is the idea of arranging and producing in Atmos. And that's more exciting than mixing, because you talk about all day long storytelling. Literally every song is different in this format, because with stereo, you're forced to do what you can with left and right. There's a single plane. We're like fighting for space and width. And here, there's just inherently more of that. It opens up the door for creativeness, I think. And I would say listen to things that move you and inspire you. And I've talked about it before, but I think for me, my favorite thing on planet Earth in terms of creativeness is when the thing you make makes someone else want to make something. That's as cool as it gets, right? Like, it's not even about what I made, right? But if you want to go make something, and that's what's cool about this, right? You don't need this to get started.
Right.
AirPods, Mac Mini, MacBook Air, Logic. It's free for 90 days.
Okay, good. Got two questions going in my head. We hear a lot of people remixing old songs for Spatial, right?
Right.
Are you now arranging new songs with Spatial in mind?
Yes, absolutely.
How is that experience different from when you were just mixing in stereo? Or writing in stereo?
You just think about things, right? Like, you think about there's space for BVGs, there's space for ambience, there's just more space. And the other thing I really like about Atmos is it lets you kind of of direct the listener. So you can kind of dictate and, you know, walk them through your story more than you could stereo. So that's probably the most exciting part.
Okay, what about producers who can't have these Genelex speakers and this is a beautiful setup here, but yeah, we all can't have this. If we wanted to get started,
AirPods.
So even somebody with AirPods that have that are spatial capable.
Yeah.
Are all AirPods spatial?
Yeah, actually for a while, true story, the Polyphia mix, I did probably 85% of that started on AirPods, and they were AirPods 3, not even Pros at the time, because if you could get it to smack on AirPods 3, and that's the thing, right, is like I wouldn't sit here and say like, if you're gonna go do this professionally, that just buy AirPods or whatever, but the nice thing is, especially in Logic, again, is like you can hear what it's gonna sound like on Apple Music, then you can get it to translate on the bigger speakers, but what's nice is once you start to learn your room, and then you can make educated guesses of, you know, what I'm gonna do on AirPods is gonna equate to this.
That's something that producers can actually do. So start with your AirPods and finish it up in a Pro Studio. Okay, you mentioned a little bit about software. Can we come over here and take a look at this real quick?
Yes.
Okay, what are you using software? Is this just all in Logic? Everything is being done in Logic?
Yeah, everything.
Okay.
Logic start to finish.
Start to finish.
For me, anyways, yeah.
Have you tried any other tools? Are there any other tools that you've heard of that you'd want to try?
I was very close. Ableton looks very nice, and you know, I see it in your videos too. From a producing standpoint, I feel like a lot of great producers are in Ableton, so that was a little bit of like what was maybe gonna sway me. And then Atmos came out, and then they put the render in Logic, so I was like, I'll just stay here.
They make it easy, right? From start to finish. I mean, you start with Logic and you're all the way into the Apple Music Store.
I can actually even show you something right now.
Yeah.
One thing I like to do with like vocals and BVGs and ad-libs is pan them vertically up and down. So it's almost like a vertical LFO.
Yeah.
And in this case, I'll isolate them so you can hear it and know what to look out for. But in context, it kind of drives with the kick. And when you're at the climax of the song, it just kind of brings an element of energy that you wouldn't normally have had.
Okay.
You can sit here. But then, in context.
I'm so sick of loving you, but I guess you learned your lesson. Now all your bridges are burning, and I'm not the person you've left. What you expect for me to just crawl back a second? You miss me, I hope it makes you sad now that you're alone.
This type of thing that you just showed me, it's like these new, I wouldn't call it a standard, but a new technique, right? That you think of when you're arranging the music, now with Atmos in mind. I feel like producers who are getting into this early are creating those techniques. Who and others will adopt it.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody who's like grumpy about it, and like the stereo guys, no offense, you know, if you're doing it just because you have to or because the label makes you to, then you're just missing out. And it is the kids who have AirPods who are, I think that's what, you know, my ignorance, I think, was maybe a strength in this case, because I didn't have a preconceived, you know, way of thinking. And to me, how we perceive and listen to things in life, right? Like things aren't just in front of us on a single plane. Things are above us and below us and behind us and to the side of us. So to me, it's closer to how we as humans perceive sound.
What does immersive audio do for music, and why should producers pay attention?
Because you can feel more. Like you just feel stuff. I mean, that's my favorite thing, is just having people listen. Because even people who aren't producers or musicians, there's just like an inherent like feel, and you can't get it. That's why you can't describe it. Like you could talk about it as much as you want. I could say all day long that it's cool, but until you sit in the chair and feel it, then it's different. And again, too, it's like it's coming and it's adopting and it's translating, and the fact that you can go from AirPods to this, and it's moving so quickly, is why.
Do you see any limitations with Spatial right now that you wish weren't there? Or what do you hope for the future?
Not limitations, I mean, it's exciting to see more plugins, you know? There's I think in terms of like a traditional 2-bus, right? Like we're very limited in the sense of it's not a normal chain. You know, there are tools that are coming, so I think that's maybe the only thing I would, not even, if this is all I had, I'd be totally good. And, you know, there are tools to master and get some sort of compression and things like that. But yeah, I'm completely content. I think the only thing maybe from Apple's side and Logic would be a simpler way to bounce. Like if there was an AirPods bounce that I can just send to somebody, that would be sick.
All right, so we've heard some great mixes from you, and if you guys haven't heard them yet, go to Apple Music. I'll put a link so that you can go directly and listen to Jonathan's mixes. What do we have to look forward in the future from Jonathan and music?
I think maybe a little bit of everything, which is maybe why I'm probably most excited. The music, I think, is a huge part of me, but from a multifaceted standpoint, like I do obviously love video. So getting to do music and video and tech and all of it, like full-time, full strength, is something that I haven't been able to do yet.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited, because I think I can do all of it at the highest level that I could strive for now, finally.
You will.
Absolutely.
You already are.
And you know what really shows, I think, in your face and in the music is your passion for this. You're really into it. You're really producing results. You're not just talking it. You're actually showing it. And it's amazing music that you're putting out there. You're inspiring young people who say, hey, should I try this out? And you're like, yeah, you can do it like this. Listen to what I created, you can do it yourself. And I think that's amazing. And it goes right along with the philosophy of this channel, making the music you love. Who cares about everybody else? Make what you truly love. Thank you, Jonathan, for having us here. And we're gonna listen to more mixes right now, and you guys listen to it too. And we'll have more on spatial audio real soon, and maybe even more content from Jonathan on this channel.
Let's go.